Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto was in the 7 Ninja Swordsman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto watched as the 501st started to depart from the now ruined city of Osaka after having stolen all its resources and valuables, including many of the villagers who shall be now used as slaves in Kirigakure. It was a gruesome reality of war and one he was not comfortable with, but had no choice but to obey if he was to keep his cover. More importantly, since he was the one who butchered half the city, he had no right to call out the Kiri shinobi on taking slaves. It would be hypocrisy of the highest order. Still, a part of his heart was saddened by all this conflict. He had already lived through one great war and now he was participating in another one. Only this time he had nothing left to lose, and the only thing keeping him going was his promise to his little brother. No matter what pain comes my way, I will protect the village that you died for. Nagato, I will protect Azu just like father, mother and you did, even if it means becoming the monster I am today. He would get no reward or recognition for his service to the nation, possibly even die in the course of this mission and be buried in an unmarked grave, but that was the fate he had accepted. For a true ninja protected their home from the shadows. He remained silent even as another person stepped beside him and joined him in observing the ruined city. Their eyes settled over the villages left behind as they tried to salvage what was left of their homes. Many more were clinging to the dead with their wails of despair disturbing even the most hardened shinobi. Is there no way for people to live without conflict? Asked Naruto hesitantly, as his partner heaved a sigh. I don't think so. This world is destined for such pain as long as humans exist. No matter how much we wish for peace, there will always be others among us who desire for war. Such is the nature of our race, as each of us is divided by nation, clan, beliefs and preferences. Each of us believes themselves to be right while finding fault in others. As long as such thinking exists, war will continue to happen, answered Ino sadly. She watched as those words hit her partner hard as he clenched his fists and closed his eyes. Naruto, I want this war to end so people like me are never born. At the same time, I know that my actions will result only in more people like me being born. How can such a paradox exist? I can never ever forgive the ones who killed my family, yet today in my quest of justice I am doing the same things that was done to my family. Aside from my desire to protect my village, I don't even know who I am anymore, confessed Naruto miserably. Then don't forget who you were. He blinked and looked at his wife in surprise even as she gave him a warm smile. We are both despicable people who have done terrible things all in the name of protecting our home. This burden, we have to live with it every day. But we don't have to be alone in this pain. Nobody else can understand us but we know each other. Which is why I want you to trust me and I want to trust you. Together we can bear this pain, she offered him, even as she looked at him with that smile. How can we do that? He asked hesitantly. She offered him her hand. My true name is Inoue Yamanaka, though my family always called me Ino, reason the codename, introduced the female hunter ninja with a smirk. She frowned when the man in front of her froze. Naruto. It was my mother's name, he confessed, making her smile vanish as she understood she had caused him pain. Ino didn't know what to say to him as her attempt to make him feel better went horribly wrong. Minato. She blinked when she heard him say that. Realizing her confusion, he blushed a little as he rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Minato Namikaze, my birth name. Although it doesn't matter now since it is deleted from the records and apart from the Azukage, everyone who knew me by that name is dead, confessed the Kiri commander, some sadness ever present in his voice. It's a good name, said Ino happily, which made him blink in surprise. Do you think so? He asked, his surprise easy for her to witness. Yes. Ino felt him extend her own hand and greet her own hand, only this time the darkness she had felt growing inside of him had vanished and was replaced by a warm feeling. It reflected the way in which he smiled, even brighter than the rays of the sun. Thank you. We may not have married willingly, but over the years I have truly come to care about you, just as you have done the same, otherwise you wouldn't be so worried about my safety all the time. It doesn't matter how big or small the problem you are facing, as I want you to share it with me just as I promised to do the same with you, for it is the only way we both can survive this cruel mission entrusted to us, explained Ino patiently. I understand. Maybe if I had vented some of my anger with you before this mission, then I probably wouldn't have went into such a rage and caused unnecessary deaths. Forgive me, Ino, he apologized, as she shook her head. The past is full of regrets, the present full of hardships, it is the future we must look to, she advised him sagely, earning a nod from him along with that bright smile. You're right, he agreed, making her smirk. I always am. After all, I am your wife, she teased him, yet his smile never wavered. I am lucky man, then. Ino blushed immensely at that compliment, for it was the best one Naruto had given her over the years. In fact, this was the only time they had been so honest with each other, and she liked it greatly. She saw some of his sadness reappearing again as his attention was drawn towards the misery of Osaka's residents, only for Ino to step in between and make him look at the youngest members of the 501st, who were laughing and cheering as they prepared to go back home. Your actions protected those kids. You took it upon yourself to shoulder the darkness of this mission and risk your life to keep them safe. No matter what anyone says, in my eyes you are a remarkable commander under whom I and the rest of the 501st is glad to serve under. Never forget that, she warned him. Naruto's gaze softened as he saw what she meant on watching most of the 501st safe and eagerly waiting to return home. This sight was the only good that came out of his actions. He felt a warm body embracing him fully, and his gaze softened even more as he saw Ino had hugged him. The fatigue, pain and guilt of this mission started to wear off him as he felt her warm and radiant chakra, which was so opposite to his own. He couldn't help but melt in that embrace, wishing it would last just a little longer so he could enjoy this moment of peace in a life full of war and pain. She didn't let go of him and embraced him even more fiercely, which made a lone tear fall from his eyes as he returned the embrace wholeheartedly. Naruto was quite surprised to find Mai Terumi standing as one of the guards currently watching over Tobirama Senju, making sure the Hokage didn't escape or cause any unwanted harm. Not that Tobirama looked to be in any such mood, as he calmly sat at the docks watching as the Kiri shinobi were in the final stages of departing this ruined city. Lord Seventh, said Mai with a surprise, even as she and the others on guard detail bowed respectfully. Naruto dismissed the other guards, promising that he would call them back soon, only allowing Mai and Tobirama to remain. Extend your hand, said Naruto calmly, as he looked at Mai. Sir? She asked confusedly. Trust me, he insisted, making her extend her right arm towards him. He gently cupped her wrist and placed his warm palm upon her arm, making her skin tickle. Just as the momentary discomfort faded, she saw the seal he had placed upon her emerge on her arm. Release, commanded Naruto. Mai felt as if someone had released a great weight from her body as the seal slowly faded away, and she looked at the blonde officer before her in surprise. Sensing her unasked question, Naruto nodded. I trust you to keep your powers in check off the battlefield, clarified Naruto. He saw Mai staring at the other guards standing away at a distance. Judging from their frowns and mild glares, they were not happy with the freedom given back to the Jinchuriki. Mai looked away. Even after all these years and all the sacrifice she had given for Kirigakure, she was never accepted by her own people. You did well by holding off the Kinkaku long enough for me to put him down. I will be counting on you, Mai, said Naruto sincerely. You want me to stay in the 501st? Asked Mai in shock, as she stared at this man who was different from every other shinobi she had ever met. Most just wanted to get away from her as soon as the mission was over, but not him. She saw as Naruto's gaze turned grim as he stared at the vast ocean ahead of them. This victory will only make the 501st pushed into even more dangerous battles. Considering the challenges that lie ahead of us, I want a strong kunoichi like you in my ranks. I will request the Mizukage strongly to make you a part of this legion, promised Naruto. But my powers, argued Mai, knowing very well the possibility of her going berserk could harm a lot of people including Naruto. I will keep you safe and I will not let you go out of control. Have faith in me, requested Naruto with a smile. Why are you willing to risk so much for me? You hardly even know me, said Mai hesitantly, and felt Naruto place a hand on her shoulder. For I can see the desire to defend Kirigakure against all odds in your eyes. I need soldiers like you if I am to win this war for our nation. The question is, will you follow me? Asked Naruto seriously. He smiled when May knelt before him and pledged her sword to him as he gave a nod accepting her vow of servitude. How are we getting back? Asked Tobirama tiredly. At that remark, Naruto smirked, which made the Hokage's eyebrows twitch as he saw there were no ships arriving to ferry all these shinobi back home, nor were they in any condition to travel so far back on foot. He narrowed his eyes when Naruto slammed his hands together and a large portion of his chakra was summoned. Tobirama was left speechless when a monstrous wave of water rose from the sea, one which was nearly 30 feet tall. Without a word, the 501st shinobi hauled themselves along with their valuables and prisoners on top of that wave. May nodded as she too ran to get on top of the wave as Naruto walked towards Tobirama with that infuriating smirk. Shall we? Asked the boy. Show off, muttered Tobirama, as he got back on his feet. He sighed when Naruto placed his hand over his shoulder, and the very next moment Tobirama felt himself getting pulled violently. Only his experience with teleportation jutsu allowed him to stabilize himself as both he and Naruto landed on top of that wave. Was that a teleportation jutsu? Asked Tobirama with a cough, as he managed to channel his chakra, thereby making himself stand on top of that wave. Now that he could truly see the length and breadth of this wave along with hundreds of people on top of it, he could only imagine the amount of chakra control being exercised by Naruto to keep this power going on. No, that was pure speed, refuted Naruto calmly. Impossible. I have fought alongside the Namikaze clan in the past, we were allies once upon a time. Only a handful of them were truly fast, but this speed is something else. There is something unnatural about your powers, pointed Tobirama. For his theory, he got a burning glare from the now red eyes of the boy. It seems I said too much, said Tobirama in a whisper, as he saw that the other swordsmen had now arrived on that wave and were now moving towards Naruto. Tobirama decided to remain silent in order to avoid bringing any unwanted attention that could threaten Naruto's cover. After all, Kiri shinobi were merciless. The destroyed city behind Tobirama was a stark remainder of that harsh reality. He could only marvel in wonder as Naruto commanded the wave that began the 501st journey back to their homeland. May sighed in relief as she walked along the familiar path that led towards her home. She was not alone in this feeling, as almost the entire 501st were eager to get back to their village. Her eyes glanced towards the biggest prize of this mission, who was currently blindfolded. Tobirama was silent and didn't protest even if he was being led towards one of the most dangerous places on Earth. In that way he was so similar to Naruto, who too had been silent and composed during their entire journey. She approached the commander once more, as he was perhaps the only one who didn't fear her company. She saw his gaze was fixed on the small team of medical ninjas currently carrying back the dead and wounded. Even if he didn't say it, those deaths weighed on the commander's soul. What will happen to their families? Asked Ao hesitantly. Naruto's silence truly disturbed May, and she saw the commander was aware of the harsh reality that awaited the loved ones of all these shinobi. Kirigakure had no formal system or desire to support the families of their shinobi who died in the line of duty. Most were often left to fend for themselves. She saw Ao glancing at the sizable bounty of gold and wealth they had taken from the sacked city of Osaka. May could feel the officers' helplessness, as they all knew that this bounty would be completely consumed by the ninja clans and other high-ranking officers. It was after all a tradition that had been followed since the establishment of Kirigakure. The only way peace had been sustained between the all-powerful ninja clans and common shinobi and citizens. The ninja clans always took tributes from victories achieved by their village and in return used them to bolster their own strength. The only reason nobody complained was because of the fact that the ninja clans provided most of the powerful shinobi that protected the village and were important to sustain their nation. It was why the handful of shinobi who were hailing from ninja clans that died on this mission would never have to worry about the future of their families. Both those hailing from common families would have no support provided to the distressed families. Tobirama felt the silent frustration in Naruto's heart even if he couldn't see the man. We have to obey the rules, said Naruto calmly, much to May and Ao's surprise. These men and women died for their nation, and we cannot even protect their families. Then what the hell are we fighting for if we cannot even look after our own countrymen? Demanded May fiercely. We cannot rile the ninja clans during this time. It is imperative Kiri stays united, no matter how dirty the means, defended Naruto, but flinched when her piercing stare looked through him. To those victims and their families there is no difference between us bystanders and Kumogakure the culprit. People are no better than the culprit if they didn't try to help. If we only pity those helpless families and allow the ninja clans to profit, then we're just as guilty as the Kumo shinobi who killed our comrades, said Mei disappointedly, even as she walked away. I saw the commander clench his fist and stepped away in order to give the man some space, as Mei had given him no mercy with her words. Tobirama felt the conflict grow within Naruto's heart for several long minutes as the Jinchuriki's words weighed heavy upon his soul. It only vanished when loud roars and cheers reached them. One of the guards finally removed Tobirama's blindfold. At first all he could see was the heavy mist, but a few moments later he saw huge walls upon along with a large mass of humans waiting at a large gate. Kirigakure. To his surprise, it seemed as if word of the victory had reached the village much sooner, as its entire population seemed to have gathered to welcome back their heroes. Tobirama narrowed his eyes when he felt extremely powerful chakra signatures among the crowd, one being a cage level which made him completely alert. In contrast to the nervous Hokage, Naruto was calmly walking ahead at the front of his army. A few hundred meters away from the village gates, the commander stopped, making others do the same. Tobirama felt the boy's resolve manifest as he unclenched his fists and looked back at his men. Manjutsu Hozuki was the first one to acknowledge Naruto's wish as he gave the command. To everyone's surprise, the members of the 501st parted away to the sides and stood at attention, including Naruto himself. A group of medical ninja nodded their thanks as they slowly started to carry forward the martyrs and wounded back towards the village. Everyone, pay your respects to the true heroes of this victory, said Naruto softly. Tobirama was surprised when not a single member of the 501st objected to the command, as they all gave respectful bows in honor of the dead and wounded. The cheering villagers stopped their roars when they saw what was happening and hastily moved to follow the same action. When the dead and wounded were completely escorted into the village, Naruto nodded, which allowed the rest of his legion to rush towards their beloved ones and families. There was a bittersweet smile on Naruto's face as he saw his subordinates be greeted by their fathers, mothers, siblings, lovers and friends. Even so, he remained behind until each and every shinobi under his command reached the gates. It was only then Naruto walked alone towards the village. However, he stopped when almost everyone in the village looked at him with smiles on their faces. It was then that the second Mizukage walked forward, even as Naruto quickly knelt. The rest of the village followed suit as they all surrounded the officer who led them to this victory. Mission accomplished, Mizukage-sama. Please forgive me for not being able to bring everyone back alive, said Naruto remorsefully. You didn't leave anyone behind, and it is clear that you are not just a fine officer but a leader who cares for the lives of his men. I entrust you with the 501st and its future, General, said Genjutsu proudly, even as he helped Naruto get back on his feet. Tobirama was not the only one who was surprised at that promotion. Usually, most shinobi villages divided their forces under the leadership of capable commanders, with the Kage having the rank equivalent of a general. For the Mizukage to formally grant such an important position in front of the entire village was a testament to his faith in Naruto's abilities. He is perhaps grooming the boy as one of the shinobi who could succeed him in the future. Genjutsu Hozuki, you have a fine eye. Tobirama was disrupted from his thoughts as the Mizukage then glanced at him directly. Judging from the man's non-surprised look, he and the higher-ups must have been already briefed in advance about the full extent of this victory. Many other Kiri shinobi were staring at him in shock, with many others looking quite suspicious. A major victory, indeed, whispered Genjutsu with a smirk, as he imagined the things he could do by having Tobirama as a hostage. Naruto narrowed his eyes when he saw most of the ninja clan leaders glancing at the sizable bounty and slaves with greed ever present in their eyes. While most of the village was celebrating the return of their heroes, Naruto's eyes fell upon a small group of villagers openly weeping as they realized their loved ones were now resting among the dead. Nobody paid any attention to the suffering of those families. It was as if they didn't exist at all. It would seem you do have some talent after all, Naruto-san. The village thanks you for your service, purred Reika Kaguya, the silver-haired leader of the most fierce clan of Kirigakure. It was Manjutsu and the other ninja swordsmen along with Ao who briefed everyone about the details of their victory and the way the enemy fled after Naruto's rampage. However, that tale only gave rise to questions in the hearts of the Kiri leadership, which were voiced by their Mizukage without hesitation. Naruto, I have never pushed you to explain your powers. But what we are hearing right now, said Genjutsu seriously. Tobirama watched as all eyes turned towards Naruto, who gave a resigned sigh before looking all of them in the eye. My full name is Naruto Namikaze, the last survivor of the Namikaze clan, confessed the boy, drawing shocked gasps from most of the villagers. Tobirama didn't believe Naruto was stupid enough to admit such a fact so casually. His doubt was further strengthened when he felt Naruto had suppressed all his emotions, which only meant that he was hiding something. Perhaps this was part of the Azukage's strategy to embed his spy even deeper into Kiri's society. Tobirama already saw many of the ninja clan heads already planning the way they could use this information for their clan's benefits. Those plans definitely involved making Naruto a more integral part of Kiri's politics. So, this was your plan. Placing a skilled shinobi among Kirigakure, to have him rise through the ranks and become one of the 7. To have him become a hero and then reveal his connection to a ninja clan. The citizens adore him as their hero, and now perhaps the ninja clans may also trust him since he is the last member of a famous ninja clan. A crafty strategy, indeed. I wonder how many years of patience and hard work must have been employed to get to this point. The Uzumaki clan is truly dangerous in the way it uses their shinobi. They truly are aiming at something much more deeper. Namikaze. Several people whispered the lost clan's name at the same time while looking at their heroic commander in a new light. Why did you keep it a secret? Asked Hiro Hagoromo with a frown. My clan was killed by a hidden village just like this one. Those of us who survived the onslaught from Kumo dispersed across the world. My parents didn't survive much long after we arrived in this nation. I was left to fend for myself and I distrusted anyone with this information. But I guess it cannot be helped now. Are you going to execute me for this secret, Mizukage-sama? Asked Naruto boldly, looking the Kage directly in the eye. Genjutsu smirked. On the contrary, I want to verify this truth, so you will undergo some tests. If found to be true, I will appoint you as the head of your clan and make you a member of the council. Maybe in time you shall be known as Namikaze Naruto of Kirigakure, proposed Genjutsu. It would be a great addition to our village if a skilled clan like the Namikaze becomes one of us, agreed Lord Yagura Karatachi, sending a respectful nod towards Naruto and earning one in return. Perhaps you should think about repopulating your clan. Kiri has many fine women, hinted Lord Minaze Terumi, earning a scathing glare from his daughter when he looked at her. Naruto on the other hand didn't blink an eye as Ino arrived by his side. I have a wife, refuted Naruto respectfully. Genjutsu laughed jovially at that remark, so did many others in the village. Yet even as the people were overjoyed by this news, Naruto's gaze once again landed upon the families whose lives would never be the same after the deaths of their loved ones. It pained him to see them suffer as he had once went through the same pain. He grit his teeth when he saw quite a few shinobi from different clans moving forward to seize the bounty that the 501st had collected from Osaka. People are no better than the culprit if they didn't try to help. If we only pity those helpless families and allow the ninja clans to profit, then we're just as guilty as the Kumo shinobi who killed our comrades. Mei's words to him weighed heavy over his heart and the guilt came back to haunt him fully. The entire village was surprised when Naruto disappeared in a quick flash and appeared between the clan warriors and the bounty. This wealth rightly belongs to the village and to those whose loved ones died for this great nation. I will not allow the memory of my men to be disrespected, proclaimed Naruto fiercely. Ino grimaced when she saw the angry looks being now directed at her husband from quite a few from the ninja clans. Mei's gaze met with Naruto's and she smiled when he gave her a nod that showed he had accepted her feelings. I will take full responsibility of the families of my men who died for Kirigakure. I will devote most of this wealth for the welfare of this entire village, but I request you all to leave something for those who sacrificed everything for us. If any of you are against this, then come and face me, challenged Naruto without hesitation. Tension soared instantly as many of the clan heads glared, making their family members reach for their weapons. Tobirama's guards tensed, but the Hokage only smiled. Don't worry. He won't lose, assured the Hokage. His words were proven true when Ino and Mei joined Naruto, followed by Manjutsu and the remaining swordsmen. They were joined by the entire 501st, all of whom looked ready to fight if the clans threatened to dishonor the memory of their fallen comrades. Genjutsu felt the emotions of the villagers, with majority of them agreeing with Naruto, including his own son. He could sense the ninja clans didn't like it, but conflict was avoided when Minaze Terumi and Yagura Karatachi joined Naruto's side, which prompted other clan heads to follow. Only the Kaguya and Hagoromo clans remained opposed, but as they became isolated against the remaining village, the respective clan heads reluctantly asked their warriors to stand down. Ultimately, the Mizukage nodded his acceptance, eliciting a thunderous wave of cheering from the villagers. The villagers soon enough lifted their new hero over their shoulders and started the celebrations even as Genjutsu approached Tobarama. Lord Hokage, it brings me great pleasure to invite you to Kirigakure, said Genjutsu curtly. I didn't have much of a choice, Lord Mizukage, retorted Tobarama sharply. Genjutsu joined his counterpart even as both men watched the village erupt into celebrations, with Naruto not being able to escape as the people dragged him into the festivity. At first the boy resisted gracefully, but after few more attempts by the villagers, he couldn't help but give in with a resigned but happy smile. You have a fine shinobi, Lord Mizukage, commented Tobarama honestly. Perhaps he'll usher this village into a new era of prosperity and unity. Maybe even succeed me someday, whispered Genjutsu with a wide smile. Tobarama didn't know why, but those words made him feel truly sad. Tobarama was a guest of honor and waited alongside most of Kiri's military force in the graveyard. The time had come for the village to cremate the martyrs of the 501st that died in the line of duty. The atmosphere was somber, with the Mizukage standing beside the grieving families. It intrigued him to see that Kirigakure followed a custom of burning the dead instead of burying them like most other nations. Only Azuchiogakure followed the same custom, which was a point Tobarama noted without fail. He turned eastwards along with many others as they heard a small murmuring from the crowd. A small smile came upon Tobarama's face despite the situation he was in. General, General, General. The entire 501st had been quite somber, but now watching their leader march between them brought some smiles back on many faces. Tobarama watched Naruto acknowledge each and every salute shown to him, even if it took him some time to clear through the crowd. His heart sank when he saw Genjutsu Hozuki also had a smile like his own on his face. Tobarama clearly saw the way in which Naruto's presence boosted the shattered morale of the shinobi. For many, he was a hero, and for others an undefeatable warrior. The way in which not just the shinobi but common civilians called out to him made one thing clear for the Hokage. The people had accepted Naruto as their general not because their Mizukage had commanded it, but they had themselves placed their faith in him as their general after his actions and the way in which he had fought for his men. Tobarama could see in the eyes of the shinobi that unwavering faith that no matter what happened they would never lose as long as they had their general with them. If only Konoha had such an officer. Naruto finally managed to reach beside the Mizukage, who gave him a nod against the short bow he offered. Kirigakure's new general then turned towards the grieving families and looked them all in the eye without flinching. There is no greater honor than to die in the service of one's nation. Your sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters sacrifice their all to give this nation a better future. I understand mere words cannot be enough for the loss you have experienced, but I promise to fight until my last breath to protect this great nation for whom these brave warriors laid down their lives, promised Naruto sincerely. He received somber nods and watery stares in return, but that was enough as he stepped away respectfully in order to allow the families a final moment with the dead. Soon enough, the funeral pyres were lit, which broke the final connection the dead had with this nation and its people. Manjutsu saw Naruto's gaze was fixed upon few young children who were weeping inconsolably at the loss of their family members despite the best attempts of their mothers and other women to calm them down. The crowd gasped when from the smoke of the funeral pyre arose few dark human-like figures. At first, people were terrified, but when those human figures remained floating in the air just staring at them, the people perceived them to be the souls of their fallen warriors. Manjutsu and few other veteran shinobi saw Naruto secretly raising two of his fingers, summoning the ash from which he created those soul-like figures. Even though it was not real, when those souls raised their hands in goodbye, the children finally stopped crying and mirrored the gesture with a heavy heart. Genjutsu cursed when he looked at the sky. His doubts soon turned into reality when heavy rains started to fall down, threatening to wash away the burning funeral pyres. It would be extremely cruel for the families to again see their loved ones' mangled bodies in a half-burnt state. He was not alone in those thoughts as Tobarama stepped beside him as both cages combined their powers to erect a dome-like structure across the cemetery that protected each and every shinobi as well as civilian from the torrential rain. With the people safe, the cages turned their attention towards the funeral pyre which they had to keep burning no matter the cost. To their surprise, Naruto had already moved out of the dome, protecting everyone else from the rains. The general now stood guard near the burning pyres at attention. Not a single drop of rainwater managed to reach the pyres as they were all diverted across the village, allowing the dead bodies to be burnt without any damage. For that to happen, Naruto had to stand in the torrential rains for nearly 2 hours in order to maintain that control over the rainwater. He only relented when the final body had burnt away to ashes and created several earthen pots in which he stored those ashes for the families. He was drenched from head to toe, his once well-ironed uniform was in disarray, and he was shivering to an extent when he turned back towards the crowd. There was only one emotion present in each and everyone's eye, which surprised the Kiri officer. Respect. Naruto levitated the pots containing the ashes of his fallen soldiers with the help of his own dark powers as he walked towards the families. He made sure to deliver each one correctly and with respect. Genjutsu joined him when he was about to deliver 3 pots to one grieving woman. Her husband was in one pot, her brother in another, and her elder son in the last one. Her second son and only family, who was 7 years old, stood beside her as both men stepped before her. Your husband, brother and son were brave warriors. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten by this village. If ever you need anything, please don't hesitate, offered the Mizukage, only for the woman to shake her head. I don't need charity, Lord Mizukage, she declined respectfully. Genjutsu was at a loss of words, for he knew she belonged from a common civilian family who had no proper support from the village apart from the monetary support Naruto was providing. Her haunting gaze found Naruto as she draped her fallen husband's headband, her brother's tanto and her elder son's flak jacket over her younger son before presenting him to Naruto. I may have lost 3 warriors, but I still have one more who will fight for this nation. General, please make him a fine shinobi like his father, his uncle and his older brother, requested the woman, rendering the Mizukage speechless. Genjutsu didn't know what to say. A part of him was overwhelmed with pride at this woman's devotion to the village. On the other hand, he didn't want her to lose her last family to war. Thankfully, Naruto knelt beside the young boy. War inflicts death, pain and misery on everyone. Especially this generation who does not know war, should never become a part of it. There is no glory in death, there is so much left for him to live for, said Naruto gently, even as he ruffled the child's hair. He then looked at the mother, who had tears arriving in her eyes once more. He is the future for which we shinobi shall endure. So please keep him safe, and if one day he truly desires to fight with his own will, then I will take him in. Until then, let him live the life we never had, requested Naruto kindly. Tobirama watched Naruto get back on his feet and look at each and every shinobi around him. Let's end this war so that young children are not sent to fight and die on the battlefield. Tobirama felt pride swell in his chest when the people started agreeing with the young Namikaze slowly but surely. He couldn't detect any lies or hidden feelings in Naruto's heart, for this was the boy's true wish. It was true that the boy worried Tobirama, for he was similar to Madara in many ways, but there was a part of him that had inherited Hashirama's will and dream. Elder brother, even now your legacy still lives on. Maybe, just maybe, we can reach the peace that you always dreamed of someday. Ino was busy serving the dinner even as she saw Naruto sitting at his study table and devotedly making notes and observations about each and every member of the 501st. On questioning, he had revealed that he planned to divide the 501st into smaller legions being led by efficient commanders. It was his hope that rather than a large force that could be used for just one mission or be at the risk of getting tracked easily, he wanted the 501st to fight side by side with the regular forces by helping them in the most difficult and heavily fortified enemy regions. She was never one to understand large military strategies, but one look at Naruto was enough to show he was made for this task. In a way, she was extremely proud of him. During her teens she was a spy in making, having never been on the front lines, as Hashirama had decreed it too dangerous for young children to take part in the first ninja world. Naruto on the other hand was already a commander at that time, leading some of the bravest and courageous kids of his generation that didn't hesitate in laying down their lives for Hashirama Senju. Dinner's ready, she announced, drawing his attention away from his notes which he would later on use to file a formal request with the Mizukage through a report. Thank you. I promise I'll help with the dishes since I suck at making decent food, he joked, which made her laugh. I'll hold you to that, she warned him playfully, as he got up from his desk to arrive at the dinner table. After a short prayer, they both dug into the sushi that she had made. She quite enjoyed the silence, watching Naruto quietly eat his rice. You did good at the cemetery, even if you didn't have to go that far, she praised but cautioned at the same time. They were my men. It was my duty to make sure they were cremated with full honors, he dismissed the praise so casually. Naruto, you do remember which nations we truly serve? Asked Ino hesitantly. She instantly regretted her question when he gave her a pointed stare which only ended when he sighed tiredly after a few intense seconds. You don't understand, he said hesitantly. He looked up when she placed her hand over his and in her eyes there was nothing but endless patience and warmth. I can't change the way I was brought up. I grew up in a military family. Strength and honor, that's what my dad used to tell us, said Naruto with a faint smile. You loved him, suggested Ino. Respected him and what he stood up for. He was the one who fought against his village to give my mother shelter in a zoo, married her despite the fact that she already had a son that was not his, he confessed, surprising Ino completely. Then who was your biological father? Asked Ino hesitantly. Mother never said his name. It doesn't matter now, but I grew up watching my adoptive father fight for his home. He was my idol, my hero. Someone who stood up for his men and village even if it meant death, said Naruto proudly. Wish I had met him, she said with a smile. Strength and honor. He taught me that. Flashback, 20 years ago. A young boy with shiny blonde hair ran through the narrow corridors of the village hospital. Amidst a sea of redheads, he was the sole ray of sunshine as he dashed forward eliciting curses and shouts from several nursing staff and visitors alike. Even in the face of the heat being thrown at him, there was an infectious smile on that child's face. He finally reached the general medical ward and ran inside to be greeted by the sight of a tall and broad-chested redhead man who was nearly 6 feet tall looking down at him with a raised eyebrow. Unlike the boy, this man had violet-colored eyes and a sharp chin. He had spiky red hair and was dressed in the uniform of a Junin with a sword at his back. Did you kill anyone? Asked the older man with a grin. Maybe next time, replied the boy cheekily, drawing a laugh from the older redhead man as he lifted the boy off the ground and into his arms. The boy nuzzled against the man's chest with a content smile as both of them now marched towards one of the nearby medical rooms. Car-san said you probably wouldn't come, said the little boy. That's silly. How can I leave you guys alone at such a time? I'll always be there for my family, promised the older man. Promise? Asked the little boy hopefully, drawing a smile from the older man as he ruffled his hair. I promise, Minato. Both father and son reached the door where a nurse was waiting for them. Sign off here please, Yahiko-san, instructed the nurse curtly. Yahiko Uzumaki sighed but complied with the request as he signed off on the paperwork and escorted himself and his adoptive son into the room where a beautiful woman with long blonde hair and sky blue eyes was currently resting upon a bed in hospital gown. Seeing her brought a wide smile on Minato's face as he yelled excitedly and ran towards her after getting away from his father's arms quite abruptly. She stopped him before he could jump on her bed and just in time as Minato saw a tiny bundle resting beside her. Their similar gaze met as she ruffled his hair while raising the infant towards him. Meet your little brother, Minato-kun, said Inoue Namikaze with a smile. Why is he so red? Asked Minato pointedly, as he narrowed his eyes at the sleeping infant. Babies do look like that, even you did when you were born, explained Inoue patiently, and smirked when her elder son pointed his finger at his hair. But I have blonde hair and he is red, argued Minato defensively. Even I have red hair, is that a problem? Asked Yahiko playfully, even going so far as to develop a small fake pout across his face making Inoue giggle. She saw the confusion and indecision in Minato's innocent gaze as he was torn between his curiosity and fear of hurting his father's feelings. Thankfully, both parents decided not to further traumatize the young boy as Yahiko picked him up and placed him beside his mother and little brother. We shall call him Nagato. You're a big brother now, Minato-kun, said Inoue happily. And do you remember what I told you about big brothers? Asked Yahiko with a smile, which brought a similar smile and a determined look in that little boy's eyes. They protect their little brothers, remembered Minato dutifully. That's my boy, praised Yahiko happily with a grin. Would you like to hold your little brother? Remember, be very gentle, guided Inoue. Minato eagerly nodded and carefully accepted his little brother in his small arms even as Inoue and Yahiko supported them. The infant slowly opened his own violet eyes and raised its tiny finger which Minato gently grabbed in his hand. I'll keep you safe. Together we will have so much fun. Their moment of peace was disturbed when another Junin walked inside the room, making Yahiko walk towards the man. Minato and Inoue watched Yahiko argue for a few moments before sighing and walk back towards them. Minato's face fell when his father returned towards them with an apologetic look. I have to go. It's an emergency, a squad of Chunin is missing near Kumogaku's border, explained Yahiko. Then do your duty. I'll look after these two until you return, promised Inoue with a heavy heart. Minato watched as his father kissed his mother and infant son before ruffling his hair and looking in his eyes. Do you have to go? Asked Minato sadly. Would you fight if someone threatened your brother? Questioned Yahiko calmly, and smiled when Minato held his tiny brother even more protectively. Yes, answered the little boy honestly. Then those Chunin out there are also my brothers. As a superior officer and comrade, it is my duty to keep them safe, explained Yahiko truthfully. But they're not your family. We are. Why can't you stay? Asked Minato bitterly. Strength and honor, my son. It doesn't matter if we share different families, different blood, different color or beliefs. Despite all such differences, each and every man willing to fight for our nation is my brother. It is a bond that only exists among shinobi. Someday you will understand what I am saying, said Yahiko confidently. With those words, Yahiko walked away, leaving his wife and two sons in the silent hospital room. 6 months later. Tears fell from Minato's eyes as he pushed himself to the limit by running as fast as he could. Despite his best attempts, the finish line was still at least a mile away across the beach and his opponents were easily sprinting ahead of him. Not gonna lose. It didn't matter if he was currently racing alongside an entire squad of Junins across Izu's beach, most of whom were his father's friends and comrades. The older men were smiling at his effort to keep up with them. That's a tough little pup you have there, Yahiko, commented one of the older Junin. It was difficult for Minato to distinguish them because of their similar facial features and almost identical hair color. Only his father stood out with those spiky hair and a new nasty scar across his face which he received when he had went out to rescue a Chunin squad a few weeks back. His and his squad's actions saved those Chunin, but his father had sustained injuries but that hadn't deterred the man's spirit one bit. That's nothing. Show them what you can truly do, little wolf, encouraged Yahiko with a grin. The Junins yelped in surprise when Minato jumped away from the sand and landed himself upon the rocky waves of the sea. Many of the men rushed towards the water in order to save the child from drowning but stopped when they saw him achieve balance over a rocky wave and stand tall. He can walk on water. Did you teach him that, Yahiko? A true prodigy. Minato laughed on seeing the gobsmacked looks which only became even more hilarious when he used the waves to take him forward towards the finish line. Realizing that they were about to be beaten by a kid, the Junins rushed at full speed alongside Yahiko. The young boy hopped across waves nearly matching the Junins rushing on the sand. Every one of the warriors noticed the boy's skill over water was not ordinary even at this age. Even though they easily defeated the child in the race, they all waited as Minato reached the shore. Still, he was a little far away from the finish line and seemed completely exhausted. I can't, whispered Minato tiredly, and sighed in relief when his mother, who was waiting for them all at the finish line alongside her youngest son, got up to walk towards him. However, she was stopped by Yahiko and his comrades, who all looked at Minato with a look of pure determination. No mountain more stronger, no sky more taller, no wave more larger, no road more longer, declared Yahiko seriously. Minato looked at his father even as he lay tired across the sand nearly 100 meters away from the finish line. I'm strong, I'm fast, I'm a damn fucking force of nature, encouraged another Junin. Minato didn't feel any strength left in his legs or body, but he did have some feeling in his arms. Gathering the last of his power, he started to crawl on both arms. No enemy more stronger than me. Minato saw all the men looking at him, waiting for him even as he crawled. Not one of them looked disappointed, instead in their eyes he saw encouragement and pride. No giving up, no retreating back, no whining. His arms screamed in protest, but he pushed forward with his crawling as the finish line came nearer and nearer. He saw tears of joy in his mother's eyes. We're brothers. He crawled further even if his arms screamed in violent protest. We're fighters. He saw his little infant brother staring at him curiously, even if the child didn't say anything. Minato knew his brother probably also wanted him to finish this journey. We're Uzumaki warriors. Minato yelled in triumph as he crawled through the finish line, The very next second exhaustion hit him fully and he sighed tiredly. Before his mother could come towards him, the Junins gently picked him up and placed him over their shoulders. Well done, little pup, praised one of the Junin. He ain't a pup anymore, refuted another Junin. Yahiko ruffled his son's hair with pride shining in his bright eyes. That's my little wolf right there. A 5-year-old Minato stood in the same hospital room once again, but this time his mother was not having another child. Instead, his father was resting on the same bed struggling to breathe. The medical ninja had done the best to heal his wounds, but his injuries were severe and multiple. After all, he directly jumped over an explosive that would have taken out his entire squad. His actions saved several lives, but it costed him terribly. Minato stood beside his father now, with his mother standing beside him with tears falling from her eyes. Hey, little wolf, whispered his father, as Minato grasped the dying man's hand. I'm here, father, reassured Minato. I know, promise me. You will look after your mother. And little brother. I know. You can do it, requested Yahiko painfully, even as Inoue offered him a glass of water. I will, whispered Minato sadly. Don't be like that, son. There is no greater honor than to die to protect your family and home, encouraged Yahiko tiredly. Why did you risk yourself for others? They are all safe and you are here, said Minato angrily, earning a smile from his father. I told you before, brothers look after each other. A good officer always protects his men and keeps them safe. Someday you will have your own brothers, maybe then you will understand what I am talking about. Care for your loved ones, look after the well-being of those who follow you no matter how different you may be from them. Those are the traits of an Uzumaki officer. What are our clan's words? Asked Yahiko seriously, even as the light started to fade from his eyes. Family, duty, honor, repeated Minato with tears now freely falling from his eyes even as he heard his mother sobbing. Live by those words, no matter what, promise me, requested Yahiko in a silent whisper. I will, father, promised Minato fiercely, even as he tried to stem his own tears. His father gently ruffled his hair and gave his mother a nod before his eyes closed forever. Minato flinched as thunderous roars echoed across the sky even as his father's funeral pyre burned a few feet away from him. His mother was trying her best to console little Nagato as the infant was nearly hysterical. Around them stood the comrades for whom Yahiko Uzumaki had sacrificed his life. The fact that the Azuchige himself had shown up was a testament to the bravery and noble sacrifice of his father to save the lives of his men. The little boy saw the Azuchige presenting his deceased father's combat gear wrapped in Azu's flag to his mother, who accepted the same with a respectful nod. She then looked at her elder son. The Azuchige's eyes widened when he saw the blonde-haired child putting on the face mask worn by his father during combat missions and a small tanto across his back. Tears fell from the child's eyes as he remembered all the moments he had spent beside his father and how he would never experience them again. He remembered the promise he had made to his old man as he looked at his mother and little brother. He also saw the Junins who were a part of his family giving him nods, making more tears fall from his eyes, for they had accepted him as one of them, just as they had accepted his father. His heart broke as an unbearable pain threatened to consume him as he watched his father burn away. His vision turned red, eliciting shocked gasps from everyone around him. But all he could remember were his father's beliefs. Family, duty, honor. I shall live by those words. And keep everyone safe. I promise, father. Flashback end. Ino was quite somber as she gently untangled her hand from his. She looked at him and couldn't believe he had allowed her to see those memories stored in his mind. It had felt so real, almost to the point that she felt that she had been a part of that journey no matter how brief it was. Naruto had already gotten up from his seat and was collecting both of the dishes before moving towards the sink present in the kitchen. She looked at him now and couldn't help but be able to understand some of the decisions he had made in the past few days. The Mizukage was once again correct in making you general, said Ino honestly, but he shook his head much to her surprise. I became general not just because the cage commanded it, but the people chose to accept me. I may be a liar and a traitor, but the part of me that is still Minato Namikaze still believes in living with the beliefs passed to me by my father. In truth, I'm just a failure who couldn't keep any of his promises. I was helpless when my father died and I couldn't even keep the promise of keeping my mother and little brother safe. Nor could I protect my comrades from the S program. Time after time, I have only failed everyone. In truth, when I look at this village and its people, I see the family that I lost. The family that I failed, which is why I don't want to fail again, confessed Naruto sadly. She didn't know what to say that could help him deal with the burden that he had carried for so many years. Ino could see it clearly that those failures haunted him. The love he had for his family became his curse that led him down to this path of revenge. And yet the real him was still alive in there, defining himself through his actions. I still want you to think about my offer of coming to Konoha once this mission is over. You will truly love the village and its people, maybe even find something that can fill the hole in your heart, suggested Ino earnestly, making him smile. Even after all that I have done, you still believe that a scum like me deserves peace? Asked Naruto curiously. Yes, she answered without hesitation. Why? Whispered Naruto, unable to understand what she saw in a failure like him. Because you're my friend. He blinked in surprise and couldn't help but stare at her. Friend, a word that he had not heard someone refer him by in a very long time. His friends had died upon the battlefield along with his family, after which he had just worked alongside accomplices and short-term mission partners. He himself had chosen to distance himself from others, he had decided to walk alone for the fear of losing the people close to him again. You don't want to be my friend, Ino. It's not safe for those that do, he teased with a smirk. That is your fear talking once again. Like it or not, once this mission is over you are coming with me to Konoha where I'll beat all this guilt and burden out of you, she told him frankly. Don't I get a say in that? He asked dumbly. No. Knowing you, there will just be more dangerous missions that you'll dive yourself into. I sometimes think that you wish to die on the battlefield to atone for your sins, suggested Ino. She saw him freeze just for a second as he was placing the dishes back in the various drawers. That subtle movement might have been missed by others, but a mind reader like her couldn't be fooled so easily. It only made her more determined to take him back to Konoha, where he could rebuild himself and find peace. Don't worry about the medical report as well. Tsukumo-san and his squad are keeping an eye on the medical ninja that are examining your blood. They'll make sure to edit out any information that can endanger your cover, promised Ino. There's not much surprising they can find in those reports, shrugged Naruto, as he came back and laid a hand on her shoulder. Wanna have some dessert? My treat, he offered with a smile, making her blush faintly. You're too kind. Does it mean yes? She nodded and joined her hand with his as they both decided to enjoy what little peace they had before the flames of war dragged them back into hell once more. Kirigakure Hospital. Tsukumo's hands were shaking as he read the medical report of Naruto Namikaze. There were another two ninja in the room, both Konoha spies who were currently making sure the two Kirilab rats didn't remember this intervention. Captain, what's wrong? Asked one of the masked Anbu. Tsukumo passed that report over to his subordinate who soon gasped in shock as he read the same thing that Tsukumo had a few moments ago. Captain, this is. Yes, the reports don't lie. Naruto is a member of the Namikaze clan, but he also has DNA from the Senju and Uchiha clan within himself. The Senju blood in him is just as strong as the Namikaze, with the Uchiha power hiding in the shadows, explained Tsukumo. We need to bring this to Tobirama-sama's attention immediately, suggested the Anbu. We will. But first, alter this report and erase any trace of the Senju and Uchiha DNA. If Kiri finds out the truth, then they will instantly realize that Naruto is somehow connected to Konoha and its allies. That would be a disaster, said Tsukumo worriedly. Understood, Captain. We will erase these records. However, does Naruto know about this? Asked the Anbu hesitantly. I don't know. It's possible he doesn't know, suggested Tsukumo, even he was not sure what was the truth anymore. Then should we inform him? Are you mad? We will do no such thing. Let Tobirama-sama understand this information first. He will be the best suitable person to advise everyone including Naruto on the further course of action, rebuked Tsukumo firmly. He received firm nods from his subordinates as they got to work to make sure Kirigakure only got to know what they wanted to know. Still, Tsukumo couldn't help but feel uneasy. Just, what are you? Naruto Namikaze. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.